Hey people, Fernando with another video here for the channel, and this is going to be about homeschooling, raising our kids, some of the things I've learned along the way doing this myself. I have 3 kids. I have a 20-year-old and a 4-year-old and a kid in the middle, teenager. So I've gone through a little bit of everything by now in terms of raising kids. And before I go on with the video, a couple things. Yes, tomorrow I'll be doing the live stream both in my Spanish and in my English channel, 3 p.m. Eastern Time in English. And if you have any topics, anything you'd like me to cover tomorrow, leave it a comment in this video. Also, I'm thinking right now, this is just a crazy idea, of doing something like this on Saturdays, more of a long format video like the one you'll watch now regarding a specific topic. So if you have anything in mind that you'd like me to go more in depth and take 20-30 minutes so as to go into more detail like I'll do now, again, leave a comment, and if it makes sense, I'll do it for the following weekend. So anyway, homeschooling, the idea came because I was checking out this other thread. This is a thread in AR-15. Someone was commenting about problems with their kids, and let me scroll up here. So this person is basically saying that kids are homeschooled, have no friends, right? This is becoming a problem for us. We are rural. I work a lot. My wife is home with the kids, 11 and 13-year-old girls. They're very kind, sweet kids, quiet and shy, but awesome human beings. Took them out to public school when they forced masks. Even before that, however, my oldest would get mean-girled by the popular girls, typical bullying. Kids are quiet and shy. They were in 3rd and 5th grade. The COVID happened. Everything went to, I don't know. Most of all my friends have kids that are much older. I really don't know anymore. With kids the same age, they go online. Oh man, this is dangerous. They go online and have friends, quote unquote, they play games with, etc. But that's it. That's dangerous. The idea of your kids going online with complete strangers, 11 and 13-year-old girls, no, you don't do that. You don't let your 11-year-old daughter go online and have online friends. She may as well be talking with a 50-year-old pervert that's grooming her. You don't know. We tried soccer, nothing. We tried youth group. It's going nowhere. It seems that if you're on the outside, it's damn near impossible to penetrate any circle. I hate to see my girl suffering, and I don't know what to do but yell at clouds. What do I do? We're seriously consider moving, but that's easier said than done. Yeah, usually it's always easier said than done to move somewhere else. That's that's something I can very much see. So this is something I've heard several times over the years. Many times I've heard the same story. Now, every once in a while you find someone that says, "Oh, it's the best thing in the world. You should." Anyone can say any idiotic thing online. Anyone can have an opinion online about pretty much anything. I have no doubt that pretty much half of the people commenting in this same thread here don't even have kids themselves. So it's easy. So, you have to take your kids out of public school because if not, they're brainwashed. Well, yeah, maybe. Depends on how you play your cards and how involved you are as a parent. But this is something I've heard many, many times. Now, this is not a end-all video regarding you should do this, you should do that. When I have very strong opinions about something, you guys know I don't hesitate in that way. I have no hesitation, so as to be very clear when I'm certain about something. Now, in this case, in the case of homeschooling, yeah, if it works for you, man, if you're happy, you have your kids that are being homeschooled, you're happy with the results you're seeing, it's going great for you. Your kids are happy, they're getting actual education. Just more power to you. Absolutely. I will say, though, that over the years, in most cases, this is the kind of thing I've seen more often. Either this or people that thought they were teaching their kids and giving them an actual education, and they were not. That's something else that often happens. And there's this, I don't know where it comes from. Maybe there's specific cases in which kids that have been homeschooled, they are the smartest kids, the best educated kids, the kids that have the best education are the ones that are homeschooled. Again, may well be the case. Maybe you are great at teaching. Maybe you're a teacher yourself and you know how to teach your kids and you're super involved and you have all the time in the world. I can tell you more often than not, it's not the case. It's a lot more common, people that think that teaching kids requires no skill, no education yourself as an actual teacher, that it's just a matter of following some guide and that's it. And the results are nowhere near as good as they were hoping. And they usually crash against reality when they eventually have to face the real world. And this is probably the problem that you see from this person with his daughters. The idea that his daughters were getting mean girls and being bullied by the popular girls. But you know what? That's part of reality. That's part of the world as it is. And in my case, I have 3 boys, so I cannot relate to how exactly you go about with girls. But at least in my case, with my kids, learning how to deal with kids that are mean or aggressive or violent towards you or bullying, that was also part of the process of growing up and learning and dealing with that. Yes, you will deal with people that don't like you. Yes, you will deal with people that may be physically violent towards you. That simply happens, and I'm pretty sure it happens in every school that you have a kid. And again, in my experience with 3 kids, and not just 3 kids, keep in mind I've moved around quite a bit, so these are 3 kids that have been dragged across different countries and different schools. And at least what I can say is that in my case, that just made them tougher, stronger, and more adaptable and basically better. It just gave them, in terms of language, a complete fluidity in terms of speaking English and Spanish as a first language from the start, and experiencing different cultures at times, and making them at times a lot more mature than their peers. And this is something that teachers would later tell us, damn, they just adapt very well to things that our kids that have been with us, since day one, they're struggling, and your kids that just dropped in here like a few months ago are already, running along with it. And that's part of, being good at adapting to whatever life is throwing at you as a kid, because of these circumstances that you've learned to adapt to. But just having this idea of, yes, I'm going to be protecting my kids by not exposing them to the mean public school or private school or whatever regular school it is that you have around, I don't think it really works all that well. I think that schools and kids and dealing with peers and other children of your same age, I think it's something that is natural. The thing that is not natural is have no contact with any kind of challenge or people that are mean to you. Doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. It's pretty much something that you eventually have to learn to adapt to and face. And I actually knew a guy that had his kids. He was bullied himself, so he never took his kids to any regular school. Always homeschooled. And man, those kids, sure, as this guy says, sweet and good people, but just super shy and very limited in the social interaction, and just almost like scared of interacting with other people. So that is a part that you probably are crippling your kids when you make a decision like this. Then there's the aspect of actual education. If you think that being a teacher is easy, you clearly never done it. And if you're homeschooling your kids and you still think that, and you've never, I taught adults in university, with adults. It was not easy. I can only imagine how difficult it is to do that with kids that learn a different way. And I've seen teachers that were bad, not good at all. I've seen great teachers that I could never dare to compare myself, given how they understand their profession and the mechanisms and the ways they used to teach and be very involving, and they do a great job. And some teachers do a crappy job, and some teachers have their own political opinions and ideas that I certainly don't agree with. And if I'm gonna be lacking as a parent and letting my teachers, my kids' teachers, do the parenting instead of me, that would be a problem. That's the kind of thing that people end up dealing with when they were not around. Their job was just go make money, do their job, and just come back home at night and not be involved in any way with their kids, barely have any conversations with them. That usually tends to happen with people that don't even know their own kids and just drop them in the public school and hope for the best. Usually it's not working all that great. Now, again, I've sent my kids to public schools. I've sent my kids to private schools. I've always tried to find good schools for them, private or public. If you look around and you make an effort, you will usually find something that is acceptable. And one teacher, well, this was a school principal that told me. He actually told this to my wife. And he said something very smart, which is it's about the kid. How well a kid does or not, it's mostly about the kid. The school does its part, but then if the kid makes the effort, he will do well, as in getting good grades, and later doing good in life, getting a good job, going to university and studying whatever it is that he wants to study, and making a good living, or all the great things that could end up happening to someone is mostly about the kid. And I think that's about the kid. It's about the parenting as well. So the school, it's easy to drop all the blame in school, especially these days when you have people that are with serious mental conditions, specifically grooming and targeting little children, which is a huge concern that everyone should have. Yeah, that is a real problem. But besides that, it is still the same in terms of you just don't drop a kid in a school and let a teacher become a parent. They have to teach math, geography, history, whatever the hell it is they're teaching. The parenting aspect is on you and your wife, right? That's where the jobs need to be clear as of what role each one plays. If you let your green-haired, freaky kindergarten teacher that you probably should not have been sending your kid to that school to begin with be the parent and groom your kid, yeah, don't be surprised when horrible things end up happening later. Always be on top of that. Who's teaching my kid? Who's in a classroom with my child, right? What, a person that should probably be behind bars or in a mental institution? You're the one that failed, not the crazy person, not the lunatic, not the predator. Those people exist. It's you that didn't identify that. You don't know what kid, what adult spends all day with your child. Yeah, maybe that's something you should be addressing. So anyway, the point is that homeschooling works for some people. For other people, it doesn't work all that great. This guy that had his kids homeschooling, I don't think it was working well for them. I think that those kids would end up crashing against reality eventually when they leave their homes. And I don't think that most of these kids are really getting a good education at all. Again, it may be the exception in your case. Maybe we are very lucky. I have a lot of time with my kids. So does my wife. We could not teach the curriculum that my kids get from their schools. No way at all. It's just not something we would be capable of doing. And I'm pretty sure about my own education and my abilities, but I would not dare say that I can do the same in terms of with the amount of time available that I have, even compared to the quality of education that they get, even though teachers come in all shapes and forms, and some are worse and better than others, right? In spite of all of that, I still think that with a good school, you will get a kid that gets a better education. And if that kid, again, as this principal once said, it's about the kid, how much they study, how much they give a damn. Do they do their homework? Do they keep on researching and doing projects when they come across good teachers and incentivize them to do that, right? That's going to be on the child. If the kid does not study, does not give a damn, well, homeschooling or not, it will not matter. And here's where this idea of the idealized version of homeschooling often crashes with the reality of homeschooling, which is kids don't study a damn at all, and they spend all time in front of the computer just watching stupid YouTube videos or playing online, which is not education. It's not. I think there's a lot more of that. There's a lot more of, well, yes, I won't take my kids to public schools because public schools are horrible, and they may well be. Maybe in your area they're terrible, and maybe there's some other school that's okay. But this idea that homeschooling is the best, most wonderful solution for everything, there was a time in which we had there was swine flu, years back before any of this. there was a big problem back in Argentina with all of this, and we had to do the homeschool thing for a while. We did have support from the school. I would go pick up the homework and stuff that the teachers were preparing for the kids, and I would take it back home, and the kids would do it. They would sit down, and yeah, I guess it somewhat worked. There were still teachers directly involved, not directly, but they were still teachers creating material and adapting a curriculum for them to follow. So yeah, that was not ideal. I think it was better to them be in actual class, but that kind of worked, I guess. Now, if it's something about a parent just doing the bare minimum of homeschooling that some people apparently are okay with, well, the reality may be something completely different. The kids are not studying at all. They have they end up with terrible education. They have no freaking clue about anything. And especially when you compare it with a kid that actually, went to a good school and did give a damn and learned something. Sure, you have kids that are in college. You have college students that can't point half of the countries in the map there in the back. All right. And some other kids probably do. Some kids are not all that stupid and they actually learned a thing or two, and you can actually, name a few countries and capitals of the world and have some basic education that others may be lacking. So yeah, it is about the kid. It's what the kid does and how much effort he puts into that. It's, one of the things I can definitely tell you in terms of raising your kids, having done this. Again, the process of going from a baby, a newborn baby that you just got there delivered, okay, take care of this kid, and eventually delivering a grown man is you need to be on top of it. You need to care. You need to spend time with your kids. Listen to what they have to say. Listen what they like, what they don't like, where they're weak, where they're strong. Incentivize them on the things they're strong on, and support them and guide them on the things that are not all that great. And it's not easy. It's not for everyone. Not everyone likes being a parent. There's lots of people that should never have had kids to begin with. Also has to be said, they still have them and do a shitty job at it. So not a surprise. But that would not be our case. Both my wife and I, we've always been very much of the idea that for us, it was family first. That was always on top of everything. If it came up to doing things for ourselves or our careers or things that we could just enjoy more ourselves more, no, it was always first considering what's best for the family. Always what's best for the family, for the kids, and for us all, and then on the more selfish individual level. Some people think that them being selfish and not being there and doing great, on their jobs economically, making a bunch of money, and yeah, my kids will thank me for it. Well, maybe not. Maybe your kids will even hate your guts if you're, a freaking billionaire. Maybe your kids will end up with serious problems, being, kids are unhappy and have serious, issues that they will never recover from, in spite of you making, $1 billion in your business and doing very well economically and professionally and being recognized by everyone. But your kids have a different story to tell, and your kid's life is something that I wouldn't wish upon even my worst enemy. So what is your priority? What is important for you? Your job, spending time with your buddies, going out hunting and shooting with your friends, and every 5 years take your kid whatever thing you like doing every once in a while? Or are you there day in and out? Are you there every single day for them, at least for a while, as much as you can? Or when you have that little spare time, you go out and get a few drinks or have a good time with your friends, because mommy and daddy, they need time for themselves. That's what we're being told these days. That's how things are supposed to be. But kids do see the difference, and believe me, growing up, you will not see the same results if you are one of these parents that could not care less, or one that does. Now, try and wrap it up and not make the video eternal. What is that you do if you're homeschooling, right? You're homeschooling your kids and you're facing the same problem, which I've heard several people say. I've heard many times the same thing. I'm homeschooling my kids. They say they're doing good in terms of grades, and sure. Whatever is the case, what about the part of socializing, which some people downplay, some people give way too much weight to it? Well, it comes down to the simple fact that if they're not spending time with their peers, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. I mean, yeah, you can do what these guys are saying about going to, soccer. And this guy says, well, soccer did not work. We didn't create a group of kids. And especially if you're living like in a very small, not even a small community. If you're living out in the sticks, very isolated, and you're living, with no one around you, that's going to be tough to have a social group of people. I mean, things like, going trick-or-treating. Could you even do that? No, we didn't even have any neighbors nearby to do that. So that's out of the question. Well, that's the kind of thing that also you can see the same problem in other areas. There's no neighbors for your kids to do trick-or-treating. There's probably not enough people around you to do sports or have neighboring friends in the neighborhood, because there is no neighborhood where you are. Yeah, a neighborhood is not a house a couple miles down the road. That's not much of a neighbor. Especially when the house down the road, a couple miles down the road, is a couple of old geezers that don't even have kids. So that's not working for you. And just joining a gym or soccer or football or whatever the hell it is that, you may get lucky. I was reading this thread and someone said they had luck with a chess club, and yeah, it could be. Now, is that sustained? Are your kids seeing other kids daily, once a week, once a month, once a year? What is it that how much relationship do they have with peers of their same age? Church may well be. Someone posted that church worked for other kids. My advice would be the following. First, yes, your kids need to hang around other kids. And in terms of schools, the idea that you're not sending your kids to school so as to not face other kids, that's like, I'm not living life so as to not face life. That's life for a kid. It's dealing with mean girls. It's dealing with bullies. It's dealing with assholes. That is part of life. So you're just protecting your kids from actually living. Now, I'm not saying send your kids to a ghetto high school where they're going to get knifed. No, I'm not saying that. But dealing with a kid that doesn't like you and is an asshole, that is part of learning to cope with problems. So maybe reconsider that. Now, final thought is, if you are in a somewhat small community and you're going with a homeschooling thing and it's somewhat popular in your area, one of the things I've heard people do with good results is getting all of these homeschool kids together and having your own little school. You basically throw a few bucks, and yeah, this is kind of like having a school which you control. Maybe people already do this in smaller communities. This is something else to keep in mind. Maybe you just use the public school that you have in your local area and just become more involved. You work together with other like-minded parents from your small community, and you make that little school into something decent. I've heard of, I have a friend that did you get together several guys that were several families that were homeschooling, and they basically hired a couple teachers, and they're getting like very exclusive classes, and it's kind of like a little school. They go to classes in a building. It's maybe one or two classes depending on the age group. Maybe it's all together in the same class, and these teachers maybe assigned homework or activities depending on what each one is working for. So it's kind of like a school with actual teachers that you hire and you pay for that. And I think that, first of all, there's going to be a lot better education for a kid. I have no doubt that someone that's a qualified teacher will do better. This idea that, anyone can be a teacher, you have no fucking idea what you're talking about if you think that. It's not all that easy. Again, I've taught adults, people that were grown up in university, and it's hard enough as it is. I don't even want to think how hard it is to teach a class of, a bunch of 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds or whatever it is. It's probably a lot harder. So don't underestimate, that profession. It's probably a lot harder than you think, but that could be a possible solution. Now, of course, the money aspect, you're going to be paying someone. Can you even afford that? Well, the more people you have, the more affordable it will be, because you divide the cost of this in more families, the more people, so it's going to be cheaper. Not only that, the more people you have involved, the more of a kind of like school community it becomes, and you have more kids for them to play, socialize, and do activities and challenge themselves like kids do. So challenge themselves in aspects of socializing and talking and exchanging ideas like kids do. Those could be options for you. Anyway, guys, I hope you got something out of this, and if not, leave your suggestions of any other topics you'd like me to cover similar to this one, or anything else that comes to mind. Guys, see you in our next video. See you tomorrow live in the live stream. Take care.